Going into Pig blind, no trailers, no synopsis, I had no idea what to expect. The first 15 minutes played out very enjoyably, and I figured I was in for a darkly fun action thriller where Nicolas Cage turns it up to 11 as this, large beast of a man tearing through people to find his kidnapped pig. John Wick, but with more meat, if you will. Something tells me writer and director Michael Sarnowski knew this when hiring Cage, the expectations that people would have for the veteran actor and just how surprised they would be as the film plays on and any chance of seeing Cage's signature freakouts diminish and instead give way to a story that's so poignant and emotionally vulnerable. The performances from Cage and Alex Wolff are truly incredible, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them gain multiple nominations in next year's awards season. But it's Sarnowski that really blew me away here, especially for this being his debut feature. There's usually some roughness around the edges in first-time outings. The script isn't fully developed, the cinematography doesn't feel cohesive, or even the performances just don't measure up. But none of that is the case here. He had a clear vision of what he wanted to make through and through, and you see every bit of that passion on screen.
Tiger's been running fights for restaurant workers for 30 years. If your name means something, they'll bid high.
John Wick vibes don't really stop until just before Act 2. Sarnowski leads us way down the garden path, making us think we know where this is heading, with Robin showing the unprepared Amir the deeper, quite literally, and darker parts of the city. Below a fancy restaurant, there's a full underground fighting ring where employees kick each other's heads in. It's reminiscent of the Continental, this place that exists in the real world but the average person has no idea about it. The use of slow motion gives the whole place this ethereal vibe. Robin makes his entrance and the build-up is tense. We expect now is the time for Cage to go full freakout and bash everyone's head in. And that doesn't happen. He stands there and allows the other guy to beat him to a pulp. He's there for the info about his pig's whereabouts. He could care less about anything else.
I'm looking for my pig.
The look on Amir's face is one of shock, and it mimics our own. Our expectations were just trounced, and from there on out we really don't have any foundation for where it could go. Sarnowski led us down a set path only to take a hard right turn, and now that he's got us, he's free to tell his story however he likes. But we'd be getting ahead of ourselves. The thing that struck me immediately in the opening minutes was actually the score. Written by Alexis Grapsis and Philip Klein, they add such a necessary layer to the film. A film that uses music in very clever ways already.
Picture of perfection on its formal side. Therefore, where classical music proves superior to all other...
But add this beautifully varied score on top, and it really ties the picture together. When Robin is in his element, hunting truffles with his pig in the forest, we hear this calming acoustic guitar combined with this wide-sounding violin. I think I could even hear some faint flute notes in there as well. This sounds like nature, unabashed, undisturbed, peaceful nature. When they come for the pig, that piece is disturbed and the score distorts and we get something harsher and darker. And just when you think you've figured out the overall vibe of what they're doing, they bust out the electric guitar for a Carpenter-esque tune that signals Robin's descent into a world he long left behind. And while Amir and Robin start off not seeing each other eye to eye, by the end of Act 1, they do. And guess what plays? It's also precisely executed. Truly wonderful work from these two. Loss is a huge theme throughout the film, both struggling and dealing with it, or trying to deal with it at least. Robin has lost his pig, but from the sound of the voice in that old cassette, you can tell right away he's been struggling with a loss long before then. Amir struggles with the loss of his mother, someone we believe to be dead until he visits her in hospital and finds she's been in a coma for quite a while. These two situations mirror each other beautifully. Robin can't move on because he can't sit and listen to the tape. He can't fully accept what's happened. In Amir's case, the fact that his mother is still technically alive means he hasn't gotten the chance to properly grieve or even say goodbye. Instead of dealing with their true feelings, both Amir and Robin bury and pave over them with something else, whether that be throwing themselves into big business or moving to the woods with their pet. This theme echoes throughout the entire film. An especially poignant moment is when Robin visits his old house and talks to a kid who lives there. He questions where the persimmon tree is, and when the kid says they don't have one,
did it die?
it's not just the loss of people, it's the loss of a whole world you used to know. Even if it's a world you wanted to leave behind, seeing it change and grow and move on without you, when you still haven't. It's powerful, and Cage gets across this sadness so brilliantly, almost like an exhaustion. You can imagine from the way people talk about him that he was probably very Gordon Ramsay-like back in the old days, shouting at people, firing them for overcooking pasta.
I fired you because you always overcook the pasta.
But also someone who's incredibly knowledgeable and passionate about food. But now, those little nuggets of information, like using stale bread for French toast or waiting for the right time to eat a persimmon fruit, come out like faint echoes, like a man who had to leave a lot of himself behind when he left and is still trying to build themselves back up again. While Robin is relatively aware of himself, Amir is consumed by the front he's put up. He's a man living in the shadow of his father, a shadow he's accepted. He takes the lack of affection and outright disinterest his father has for him as normal. That's just who he is. However, everything Amir does is trying to be like that man. The clothes, the nice car, even the investment in the truffles are all just attempts to gain, if not love, then at least his father's respect. A lovely touch is the snooty classical radio station he listens to in the car.
And will remain beautiful 200 years from now.
Which immediately makes us think of him as such, snooty, pompous, but then it all makes sense when we finally meet his father. And what does he have playing?
My son means well.
Classical snooty music. Just another way Amir is trying to get through to his father. Amir's father Darius, the man who stole the pig, is really a wonderful antithesis to Robin. Both men are well respected in the food world, both have lost loved ones, but the key difference I would say is guilt. Darius hides his tremendous guilt well, but in the final act, when Robin makes him the same dinner he made for Darius and his wife all those years ago, he breaks down, the walls around him crumble, and you feel like you're seeing his true self for the first time. That dinner, a night Darius talked about for years, may have been one of only a few happy moments he spent with his wife. Any time he wasn't working was spent fighting, wasting the precious moments that we get so few of. When she passed, that guilt became ruthless anger. Instead of fleeing from everything, he put himself completely into his work, running from facing how he feels, the same as his son, and the same as Robin. That's the real beauty of Pig. It explores loss and the aftermath of what that loss can do to people, but it doesn't let you stew in that feeling of desperation. It's a film that exudes melancholy. Things may be bad now, and it can all feel pointless, but there is hope. There's always hope. Sarnowski dedicates multiple scenes to this idea. When Amir and Robin visit Darius's restaurant, they meet head chef Derek, who used to work for Robin in his old place. Robin talks about Derek's dream to open an old English pub, a dream he's abandoned for something that just isn't him. Derek still knows what his signature dish is. The dream is still alive in him, and when Robin tells him,
We don't get a lot of things to really care about.
you're filled with this sense of hope that Derek does follow his dream. And then you get to see another former employee of Robin's actually follow their dream, which also happens to be my favorite scene in the film. When he left, she didn't rest on her laurels, she took action and transformed the restaurant into a bakery. He appreciates this, asking for a signature piece of hers, even taking something for Amir as well. There's the longing for the world you knew, but also an appreciation for what it's become in your absence.
This is better.
An appreciation he wouldn't have had if he didn't go on this journey. The film eases into its finale, and Amir is as clueless as we are as to where this could go. Cage has played Robin so close to the chest that there's maybe still a part of us that thinks maybe he's just gonna snap Darius's neck or something. I mean, he took his beloved pig, he's gotta do something, right? And what does he do? He makes Darius the same dinner he made for his wife and him all those years ago. An experience that by reliving sends Darius into a flood of tears.
Get out! Get out of my house!
And without any words at all, Robin has reduced our supposed big bad, our villain of the film, to a sobbing mess. The film isn't making any excuses for Darius. It's not making any excuses for anyone, really. Its interests lay in simply showing us the complexities of people and not trying to over-explain them. When Amir asks Robin why he wants the pig back so badly, he just replies with,
I love her.
"That's more than good enough for us. We don't need anything more because we relate to the simplicity of such a statement." The direct statement sets up the powerful resolution where Darius reveals that the pig died not long after it was taken due to mishandling, and Robin breaks down for the first time, and breaks down hard. The whole film is led up to this, and it's simply heartbreaking, but that's where the melancholy comes in. Robin has lost his pig, but it's through that loss that he's formed a friendship with Amir, an appreciation for what the world's become in his absence, and as Amir sits in his car, reflecting on the experience in silence, Robin returns home and finally listens to the cassette tape he's been putting off for such a long time. We hear his wife's voice, and we sit with him and listen to her soulful, gorgeous cover of Bruce Springsteen's I'm on Fire. And with that, maybe there's hope for him. Maybe there's hope for Amir and his father. Maybe there's hope for everyone. The Beautiful Melancholy of Pig. Mr. Sarnowski, take a bow.
Hey, little girls, you're there.